end goal for me is that at the end of the day, I want to be able to monetize this podcast. Then that kind of changes the game for you, because you know that, okay, we are starting simple now. We're starting from a place of, I just have a message to share. I'm just passionate about this thing that I want to do, and I want the world to know about it. That's it. But when I know that it's going towards monetization, I know there is a business angle that comes to it. And from the word go, I begin to plot or plan how everything is going to come on board as I go, right? So for example, when I started my podcast, it started initially as, I knew that at the end of the day, I actually want to build it to a point where I'm going to monetize it. So that helps with looking at the numbers, looking at my analytics at the back end. I think somebody mentioned here, I think it was Bharat who said he was checking that he doesn't, somebody, I can't remember who did, that he doesn't know whether he's doing well. Yeah. Whether it's doing well or not. Of course, you can check depending on what platform you're using, you can check the back end to see how well you're doing, how many people are listening to you, from what part of the world they are listening to you, you see. So you're able to check those things. So if at the end of the day, monetization is something that you're thinking about, then those things are important that you keep checking on them. There's nothing we can do about it. When it comes to monetization, the numbers has to be there. So, and when you know that the numbers has to be there, then you have to pay attention. That means that you have to be very, very intentional about having people know what you do on the podcast, talking about the podcast, adding it to your introduction anywhere you want to go. Like, I'm a podcaster, and this is what I do on my podcast, so that people can check it, dropping your links on everywhere possible. Right? Because you don't know who's going to click on it. Because at the end of the day, you know that your goal is that you want to monetize, and you need a lot of people to be able to put their eyes on what you're doing or to listen into your podcast for you to be able to monetize it. There are several ways to be able to monetize your podcast, right? But first of all, you just need to understand that fact that, okay, this is the reason, this is the goal for me. So once that goal is sorted, then you can go ahead from there. Of course, this is going to take time. The timing depends on the style of podcasting, the kind of topics that you're talking about on your podcast. So when I talk about style, I'm talking about, are you doing it solo? Are you just going to be the one talking all the time? Or are you doing the interview style? Or are you doing the panel style where you are always having more than 2-3 people and then you ask questions? Or are you doing it like a conversational style, like a kind of couch thing where you are more than, you're a couple of people, maybe not constantly the same people, but always there are people in your shows where you just have banters and you just have conversations. So you need to be able to know what style of podcasting you want to do, then what platform do you want to use? Because some of these the different platforms have their different what's it called now, pros and cons that would help you market your podcast better than others. So all of these things you need to put into consideration if the end goal is monetization. So once you know your why, you know what you want to talk about, you know the platform that you want to use, then you want to ask yourself, how frequently do I want to be putting out content? Do I want to put out content once every week? Or do I want to do it twice every week? Or do I want to do it every day? Because I know of podcasts that are every day, but probably small, short. So you want to know, how frequently do I want to put out content? Then what will be the length of my ideal content? Is it going to be 5 minutes every day, motivational boosts every morning? Or is it going to be an hour long of conversation? Right? Or is it going to be 20 minutes? Is it going to be 15 minutes? Right? So depending on the length, then you also know that, okay, if my podcast is going to be an hour long per episode, it has to be super duper engaging for people to stay on for 1 hour. So that will determine the type of topics that you want to talk about. I doubt that you can run a podcast for 1 hour alone. Unless you're a preacher, then maybe. Or a teacher. And they are teaching specific topics. then maybe, right? Because I have a couple of thought leaders like that who, no matter when you call them, every time they open their mouth to teach, they can't do less than an hour. It's not possible. Like they would always teach for 2 hours, 3 hours at a stretch. I'm like, wait, what? How do you do that? Right. But that comes with years and years and years of practice. Right. So, but all of these things will help you determine the kind of work that you're going to put into it, because sincerely, like, I think this goes without saying, because you should already know that if you want to monetize your podcast or anything like that, you're going to have to put in the work. It's a lot of work, because that means it's business. And when you're doing business, a lot goes into it, because that means the moment you also have your content out, your plan, you do the back end work, your content, you prepare your content and everything, your notes. Once the content is out, what happens? What's the point of it being there if nobody knows about it? So that means you also have to now consider marketing the content, right? Putting words out, and even going a step further and maybe advertising. That's running ads to your podcast link so that more people can listen. Because the more people who listen, the more your chances of also earning from that same podcast, right? Because here we're talking about numbers. There are several ways that you can grow your numbers, which is this, several ways that you can monetize. Number one way is affiliate marketing, right? You can become an affiliate with several businesses or with a particular one, depending on you. So for example, you can become an affiliate on Amazon, for example. And if you have a particular product that you like, that you've used, that you like, you can do a review of it on one of your episodes and put your affiliate link out there. That way, the more people who listen, but now you see where the numbers come in. And I feel like that's where you need to focus on the numbers first. Because if you focus on the number, even if you do this very beautiful review and only 2 people click on your link or your podcast to listen to it, if you have a 10% conversion rate, that means nobody's going to click on that link. But when you have a 10% conversion rate and 500 people listens to your podcast, that means 50 people at least will click on the link or your affiliate link to buy whatever it is that you reviewed or to check it out. And that way something comes to you. So affiliate marketing is a great way to what's it called now? To earn using your podcast. And these affiliates could be product-based, could be service-based. So it could be members of your Toastmaster as well, right? It could be community members who have a program, but have maybe a commission based, like, oh, if you bring referrals, there's a commission, there's a percentage that comes to you for referrals. So that means if you're running, so that's why it's interesting for people who do interview style, because that way we can always capitalize on that and just bring people and topics around what people need. So that when people now come and say, let's say I'm hosting a coach, for example, and this coach has a program, and then we talk about, so let me use TM Nora's topic, for example. TM Nora talked about the psychological war. How interesting do you think it would have been if she had a psychologist on that show to actually just talk more about it, from a professional perspective? Right? And let's say the psychologist is now a coach that helps other people to, manage that psychological war that goes on in your head. And then they have a coaching program, right? So in talking about this topic alone, you are able to establish that, okay, this is something that people need to pay attention to. This is someone that knows exactly what they're doing in that field. And now this person has a service that they can help you with. So for people who listen to that episode, then they are not able to click to reach out to the coach. And so you, as a podcaster, you have an arrangement with the coach to say, for people, maybe create a special link for my podcast so that people who click a link using my podcast are able to get a particular discount or, something like that. But at the end of the day, you still get a little commission that comes to you. So that's why affiliate marketing is great. And it's also related or closely related to guest products and services if you are running the interview style. Also, another way to also look at it is maybe depending on it, I think it still also depend on the topic, the general topic of your podcast, right? Because if it is very niched and specific, then it is difficult for you to move around because you need to focus on that area that you've carved a niche for yourself. But if it's a general one, excuse me, if it's a general one, then you're able to flow somehow and say, okay, what solutions are people looking for right now? Let me get it to them. So I did something recently. I did a feedback form to my listeners and like, oh, what would you like to listen to? And I was really, really, encouraged with the feedback I got. And that feedback is going to help me to prepare for the next season because I got a lot of information on the kind of things that people want to listen to. So that's another way to get what people want to listen to so that you can then work on it and get more people to listen to your podcast. You can go into merch and start to create merchandise based on, what you're doing on your podcast, what is it known for the most. Create things that would appeal to people that people want to identify with your podcast with, and then create merchandise that you can sell. That's also another way to earn. And then you can use platforms like Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee, where people can actually make donations. And when you're doing that is then you mention it during your show, like, oh, you can support what we're doing or what I'm doing in this podcast. If you like this content, then please support by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link on this podcast and support, and they can donate whatever it is that they want to donate. And then if you yourself can also begin to create digital products, that's another way that you can also earn through your podcast, right? So digital products, that could be creating low content product on Amazon, for example, or creating a course. For example, I have 2 courses that I'm pushing and I speak about it, on my podcast sometimes. So you can have courses as well. People can click on that, on courses like that. Then you can sell physical product as well. So you are, so like I think I saw TM Nora's mic. That's a beautiful microphone. You're using it already. You can just, go check out the reviews on Amazon. If it's really doing well, then you can register and be an affiliate for that microphone. So that way, you every time like, oh, this microphone is so great. It's making me sound so smooth. And you can check it out by using the link in this, podcast. That's your own affiliate link. And for everybody who gets that mic, you make some money, so there are other ways, but this one, it's also depend on the person who is the podcaster. If you're a coach, you can plug it into your podcast as well and be a coach. You can be a consult. You can be as a consultant. You can mention and talk about your consultation or what you do on your podcast and get more clients in that way, right? If you're an author, you can sell your book. You can also come off as a public speaker and talk about, how you can speak at events and, also hosting your own event. You can also host your own event and have, a little fee to it or anything. So these are some of the ways that you can monetize your podcast. But all of it will make more sense when you have stayed consistent on the podcast for a bit of time, right? So one way to do that is like before you start, try and see if you are able to come up with all your content. The way I teach it in my course is that when you want to start, when you answer this basic question that I asked earlier, why do you want to start? Where do you want to? What platform do you want to use? You want to use Anchor? Do you want to use Buzzsprout? Do you want to use Podbean? Well, whichever one you want to use, you need to research those platforms and then decide which one you want to use. Then how frequently do you want to bring out content? Is it once a week, once a day, every day, twice a month, or once every month? I think there are people who do podcasts once a month, but that's a long shot. If you're going to want to monetize, that's a long shot, right? So, but if you decide, let's say you want to do it once a week, what you can then do to create consistency so that you don't get stuck, because one thing with podcasting is it's a lot of work. Like it's not child's play. It's a lot of work to sit down, think about the topic you want to talk about, then sit down and develop the topic, and then sit down and record and maybe edit. It's a lot of work to do, right? So if you don't plan ahead, you will be caught up. Like sometimes life happens and then you're like, oh my God, this week is gone. Oh, my content is not ready for the next week. And then you skip. And the truth is, once you skip, you know how it is when you're trying to build something and then you fall, like, oh my God, now I've missed 2 weeks. You know what? I'm just going to just go on a break, indefinite break. So to mitigate against that, I suggest that you batch produce if you can, at least in the early stages. Then, because later on you can get away with it and say, you know what, I'm going on a break. You announce it. Now, when I'm going on breaks on my podcast, I just say, you know what, we're going on a break. I'm not sure when I will be back, but I'll show up in between the breaks to still keep people, thinking about the podcast before the new season begins. So what you want to do is batch produce your product. So if your content, if you're saying once every week, that means if you just carve out a weekend, for example, maybe the first weekend in the month, to plan for your content for the rest of the month. It helps. So you sit down, you know the topics you want to talk about. And this is even easier when it is just you starting, like solo style. So that means because you can sit down right now and say, you know what, these are the topics that I want to talk about. Do your research, have your notes, and then block out one Saturday or one Friday and just record all your sessions. Edit all of them. Most of the podcast platform, you can schedule your content and just schedule them back to back. And so all you need to then do is just keep creating a buzz in between, like, oh, this topic, this next episode, this is what I'm going to be talking about. If you've not subscribed, go and subscribe. If you missed the last one, this is the link. But the next one is coming up. This is going to be what we're talking about. So you then start creating all the snippets, the marketing or the promotional content to keep people anticipating for the next, content. So if you produce content for 1 month, and then before that content is exhausted, you've done another one. It just helps you stay consistent for a long time. And that's what brings about growth when it comes to podcasting, is the consistency. People should be able to hear from you consistently over a period of time, so that when they now know that, oh, this is the time that they're expecting content from you, they look forward to it, and then they're able to follow through with your content. So that's what I have prepared for you. I'm open to questions, to know if you have any questions for me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Wow, that's been such a brilliant crash course on, I think, how many years of your experience, Ejiro?
About 2 years plus now.
Awesome, that's brilliant. So 2 years of experience crash course into a 10-minute, 15-minute slot. I've put down at least 14 points as such already, and I wish I haven't missed anything. So guys, if I missed anything, please add your points to it. I'm going to put them into the chat. And let's be open for questions. I know Sandeep already had a question. Sandeep, you have a question for Ejiro?
Yes, indeed. I have not one, I have many. Thank you, Ejiro, for that. Hopefully my questions would be of use to everybody else also. I'm a little ahead in the game because I have a podcast channel, and I was the one who was asking about the question you addressed or alluded to in the beginning. Because, what confuses me is that there are so many platforms. And I'm on Anchor. And Anchor hands it over to 7 different platforms. And those 7 different platforms have listener bases, God knows where. So the first problem is, what is the marketing link? What do I want people to listen to? Do they listen to Spotify? Do they listen to iTunes? Do they listen to BuzzFeed? What do they listen to?
Okay.
So what do you market? You were saying, you put it on your letter everywhere, on your email signatures and everywhere. What do you put?
Okay. So depending on the what's it called? You put every link. So if you go back to Anchor, so I started on Anchor and then I moved to Buzzsprout and now I'm back on Anchor. I think because Spotify got acquired Anchor, so I'm like, hey, I think I like Spotify. Let me come back here. And I love this thing Spotify does when at the end of the year, they kind of give you like your year in overview. I love that. I'm sure maybe Buzzsprout does, but I don't know. I didn't wait to find out now. Anyways, so when you check behind on your Anchor back end or your dashboard on Anchor, you are able to see what platform people listen to more. So in that way, you can push that one more and then add one or two. Leave the rest. The rest is just it's fine. The rest are fine. So, but you check out which platform.
It's web browser.
No, I know Anchor is web browser, but when you look at the back end, it's...
the listening platforms, 25% on web browser, 12% on Anchor, 12% on Overcast, 11% on Spotify, and 41%
29% web browser?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's because you share your Anchor link, no?
I share my Anchor link. No, I share a pod link. Somebody said pod link is one place where people can choose whichever
platform they want to use.
Platform their choice, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then that's fine. So at the end of the day, your point, you know that people are listening to it. So it's either you share
41% or other than 25% of web browsers. So I really don't know who's listening.
25% web browser. That means that's how they listen to it. But where are they listening to it from? Which platform are they using?
So others is the highest. 41% is others.
Others.
And Anchor, wow. Overcast, and Spotify are all at 11-12%.
11-12%. So that means that maybe they just listen. They just click whatever link you send and just listen. So
yeah, so that means that there is no continuity of listenership as such, right?
Yes. No, there is a way on Anchor you can find out who are the people who listen to it. They will tell you an average of consistent listeners, and that changes per episode.
Yeah, I have those details, but you see, my listenership is not high. It is anywhere between 5 and 30. So
and 30
per episode.
Per episode. Yeah, so you just need to keep pushing more. You need to tell more people. You need to find a way to get more people to listen. So that could mean maybe joining more groups, maybe on Facebook, for example, to share your link, or joining.
So which link?
So the link, you can share your Anchor link, which is the Anchor. The Anchor link shares the whole episode, so people can listen to more than one episode when they get there. If you share your Anchor link.
Okay.
So I think you shared that in the comments now, for example. I think you shared something on Anchor, no? Somebody shared Anchor.
No, I didn't, but I'm going to do that now. And
so I saw, okay, no, Nora, for example, shared. Okay, so what Nora shared in the comment section now is the episode. It's a particular episode. But if she wanted to share for her channel, it's going to just be the https://anchor.fm/Nora97. That's it. If you click on that alone, then it should take you to our whole episode so far. So you're able to listen to all of them at the same one after the other. As against each what's it called? Each episode. So what you want to do is keep sharing the link of your whole podcast so people can have opportunity to listen to more than one episode at a time.
Okay, I have two more questions.
Yes, please.
If I may, thank you. One is, in this 2021 report that you were mentioning, it says that I've got my listeners coming between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. But I don't know which country time zone he's talking about, because I have 40% listeners in India and 50% listeners in US or something like that.
Yeah, to just say the percentage of people listening from a particular area.
So when it talks about timings, which timings are we looking at?
Yeah, that timing is wide though, 11 to 5.
But if it's India time, then that's one
correct,
evaluation.
yeah.
But since there are more US listeners, is it US time? In which case, it's 12 hours apart.
Absolutely. The geographical location, they're going to listen to it at their own timing. So I think that's why it's probably wide as well, because I mean the US and India, the timing I don't think is close. So maybe that's why it's the range is wide in the time of listenership. So let me check something.
It could probably be your, it's coming to your time zone. So your time zone is this one. According to our own time zone, that's the time that it shows. It converts to our own wherever we are.
I know when you want to publish, yes, but for listening,
no, but then,
as in for the analytics.
It says 60% of my listeners are in US, and if they're listening at between 11 and 5 in my time zone, that's not logical because they're going to be in the night.
It's night, yeah. No. I don't think it's going to be.
And if it's their time zone, then what are the 30% Indian listeners listening to?
Your content.
So let me give you a little background, Ejiro, because I think Sandeep is confused. He's a stress healer, so I think people want to sleep. So they listen to you in the night.
Stressing Ejiro out. I haven't come to my third question yet.
Okay, let's get to that.
Okay, please go on.
We can always come back to you with any question.
The third one is about, like I'm also a YouTuber, not very great, but at least I know what to do. I know that YouTube is good for SEO. I know that there are certain search terms that people search on. So I can put those search terms and tags and stuff like that. How does one do that to a podcast? How does one,
it does.
tags and stuff like that, putting in keywords. But where is the organic reach coming from, if at all? How is the system designed?
It does, because so for like in the when you're posting on what's it called, for example, the Anchor, like you use Anchor, for example, it has a description, right?
Yeah, it has a description, but it doesn't specifically have like the way YouTube has, you've got keywords
where you have the tags, the keyword, but at the end of the day, it's still online, right? So that's, and when you send the link and somebody clicks on it, they can still read those the description that you've put there. So, but I think another way that this works for the podcast part of it, because for example, I do both. So my podcast is audio visual. So I work on the visuals more for me than the audio parts, right? But the audio part still also does its own work. So what you can do is, most of these platforms now, they try to encourage you to link it to your blog, like to a website, such that way, yeah.
How do we do that?
They have it. Whether you're on Buzzsprout or on Anchor, which are the two that I use often. I've not used the other types, the other platforms. They have it. You can just create a website using your podcast page directly. It will just ask you to create. If you're on Buzzsprout, it asks you to create a WordPress website with it, and you can do the same on Anchor. So that way, it now makes it like a website. And then you can then put all the SEO things that still makes it rank, if that's something that you're concerned about.
Sandeep, usually we have these questions answered in different formats in every of our meeting, and what you're asking is very valid. So great answers also from Ejiro. But I think you have you got to go deeper into this thing, and you're the most advanced, I think, in this group. So I'm going to allow others to ask because we've got another 5 minutes. If you don't mind, let's have some more, and we'll connect you with Ijiro as well. Does anyone else have questions on the platform?
Yes, I have one question, which is about what is your suggestion regarding the format, in the sense which works better, just audio or audio and video?
Personally, I say both. I'll say both.
But cost-wise, how does it compare? There are costs involved, isn't it? When you go for a platform.
Cost-wise, well, yes. Cost-wise, yes. You need to consider that. So for now, Anchor, I know is free. Anchor is free, although completely free
for any number of podcasts, and
yes,
because you are loading when you do video, you're loading
bytes. No, for the podcasting platforms, they are all audio platforms. So your visual has to go to YouTube. So you have to do it.
That is exactly what I was asking.
Yes,
but I know there are video podcasts also.
Yeah, but
there are without YouTube, there are video podcasts also. So that is why I asked you the question specifically. There are very few, but there are people who are doing video podcasts.
Okay, so for me, my visuals goes. Yeah.
There are people who are doing both video as well as audio.
I think Zencaster does that. Zencaster has both audio and visual.
So you don't have any idea about the costs involved?
No. For Zencaster, no, I don't think so. I think it's the bandwidth that will then determine what the size limits are. So you probably have to check them out to know.
Thank you, and thank you for the detailed presentation.
Thank you so much.
You may go to the next question.
All right, thank you.
Somebody else.
Anyone have questions? Please raise your hand. So you can raise your electric hand. Yeah, go ahead, Abhinav.
If no one has a question, then I may ask one, maybe two maybe. Yeah. First thing is, I agree on inconsistency. Inconsistency, that is the takeaway lesson which I have taken. I have done some podcasts, and I got a good response, basically for my voice and other good things about how I inspire. So now my thing is I'm narrowing it down to the niche. As you mentioned now, when you said maybe I have to go with the general flow, that is one thing, so that I have more topics. This is all what I took as lessons from today's, what you have told me. Apart from that, I have good around, I just looked into my analytics as Sandeep was asking you, and I have around 116 plays, like 116 for my anchor. So I feel now it's stagnated or what? Should I go back and put it back in my links? I'm all over here and there, the groups. So do I have to go back and put my link there again so that they go and, re-listen to it? Or how do I do it? Like for the likes or for whatever the plays, as you said.
Okay, so for the plays, for example, if you just start putting out content again and then start sharing, people will go listen. And it counts to the overall, listens or plays that you have. So it's just about resuming. Just start all over. Start from where you stopped. Okay. Or else, if you want to maybe change, maybe the theme right now is different from what you have in mind, like you want to niche down now, then you can just probably delete everything there and then start afresh with your new niche. And then just keep sharing that same link again. And then the consistency is the key there, right? Really. Right. The consistency is the key.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
I had a question actually, Ijiro.
All right. Yes,
I think Bharat, I think Bharat and BG both have questions. Let's go with Bharat first. Bharat, go ahead.
Unmute myself. Yeah, I am unmuted now. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for this lovely presentation. My question is basically on the theme of the podcast or the content. I find that many people are doing interview for entrepreneurs or a particular theme they take it on. I have a particular theme in mind, which I had 1 year before when I first came to podcast. The Podcasters Club. I have never done one so far, but because the worry is it's about gifts and various aspects of gift. Again, storytelling or how to link each one to the other and how to make sure that people are eagerly waiting for the second one. So this is the what you can say struggle going on in my mind to write something which will link from there. So is it important to get that link or just go ahead and let it loosely float and then try to link it back somewhere?
Okay, so if I get your question well, is you were thinking about, okay, what do you call this particular podcast such that every time a content comes up, there is that correlation. It's not like I'm everywhere. Today is this podcast. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, correct. And my podcast, my channel is all going to be about gifts and various.
It's going to be called Gifts.
It's about gifting only.
It's about gifting. Oh, okay. So that means you want to showcase. You want to showcase different people with the gifts.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to showcase different people with gifts.
Yes, what type of a gift they are giving, what is their feeling, how they're experiencing, good or bad.
Oh, do you mean like present gifts or talent gifts? Let me guess.
Gift is everything. So I say gift is everything. And gift
That's
is for all.
So, yeah, that's interesting.
So I want to make sure that everyone would be there once I started. So there are a lot of ideas going in my mind. My only question was why I'm afraid to do it. Number one, of consistency because of bandwidth challenges. But I think that can be overcome. But the most important was the linkage between them. So that you're really looking like you see a TV serial or a movie, you want with a sequel there. So you're really is that important or the whole topic would itself take it out?
I personally would say that the topics can stand alone, but the message is what is important. So if you already settled that the message is going to be about giftings, I mean, giftings can be somebody gifting me something, or gifting can be this person is gifted. This person has got great talent. This person is gifted as singing, or this person is gifted as writing. So that's why I'm asking, like, is that what you mean? Because if that's what you mean,
no. What I would mean is I take you for a dinner. That experience is also gift, no?
Okay.
I give charity, maybe that is also gift. Corporate gifts is everything.
I see.
The gifted you talk about is a different vertical.
Exactly. So I wanted to be sure, because if it's the one I talked about, there are so many gifted people in the world. So you can always come up with a new gifted person to say, wow, I just discovered this gifted person. But we're talking about, how people feel when they have present or when somebody gives them something. It's just to think about, if you think about it, how are you going to be able to talk about that same thing for the next 6 months, once every week, for example? So that's once every week, 4 times in a month for 6 months, the same thing. Will it keep the interest of people?
Yes, that is the question.
So you can have a survey for it, just to get the minds of people on it as well. Because sometimes it's funny what people like these days. It's just so funny. It's funny. It's funny how something you're like, I don't understand why people are loving this thing, because it's crazy nowadays. So yeah, but you can ask, you can get a survey to ask people for the ideas they have, and then that will also inspire you to know, oh, okay, this is what people have in mind. So let me tailor it, because at the end of the day, it's not about us who create the content. We are creating the content for people. So we need to actually give them what they want, not only what we think they want.
Perfect. This is what we are trying to do. Give what they want on a gifting also. Good word there for showcasing my. Back to you. Thank you so much. And I have already sent you a LinkedIn connect. So.
Oh, thank you so much. No problem, sir. Let's connect. Yeah.
BG, go ahead. So we are almost at 3 minutes away, but we can extend the meeting for another 10 minutes. So we invite everyone to stay on. So BG, go ahead.
Thank you, Alifia, and thank you, Ijiro. It was very enlightening for a novice like me who was like kind of like a baby trying to from the land trying to step into the water to test whether I should go in or not, right? So it was very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I had some question which Sandeep already asked, which is very helpful for me. Also, I have one specific question for you. That is, so you are like an influencer through podcast. Is that correct?
Getting there, not there yet, but on my way,
Okay.
on my way there, yes.
Okay, so that's the goal. So if you are like, for example, that will be like your main source of revenue kind of thing. Is that the plan or?
No, like all the things I mentioned are potential sources of revenue, and I'm going to explore them all.
Okay.
But right now, for example, I've had people who just product, because, you know, I'm also a voiceover artist, right? So I do an ad for them and I make them the sponsor of my particular episode, you know. That's something, you know, I've had somebody do that, like, oh, please help us do an ad. They have a huge community, but they want more people. I did an ad for it, and you should join this community. And then, you know, so that's something, you know, so I'm going to explore them all.
Okay, great. So I need some help, advice, opinion. Is that, you know, I am not planning to be like the famous podcaster of the world, but I want to podcast to promote my business, and I want to get some followers who would want to listen to certain themes, right?
Yeah.
Certain themes. So I want to podcast, but the ultimate objective is that they will accept me as a subject matter expert in this field, right?
Absolutely correct.
And then they will kind of getting. I'm not trying to say you buy from somebody. I'm just trying to say that you make the change. For example, you make the change. So when I influence them subtly to make the change, obviously whom they are going to go to. I mean,
you exactly. You know.
So that's my idea. So how do I start in that case? Is it the same process or it's like a different approach?
It's the same process, but maybe what you can just add to it from yours is add a community angle to it. You can add a community angle to it, even when you're starting off. So when you have your content, from the word go, you start to say, oh, and I also have this WhatsApp group or Facebook group, whatever platform you want to use, or Telegram group, where I actually answer questions concerning this. And you drop the link. People just start joining, and then that becomes a community for you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ijiro. All the best for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Ijiro, for those patient feedback and practical tips. You know, the realistic, practical, experiential tips. I think that was very, very key. I want to quickly take a little bit of guest feedback, and then I will be happy to continue the room for another 10-15 minutes. If there are more questions and anyone struggling with their podcast, and if Ijiro is okay to stay on. But let me quickly take a few guest feedback and see what was the outcome and if they got what they were looking for. JP, would you like to go first? And then I have Anushri and Joy Ready Made too. Sorry, I forgot the name, but JP?
Yeah. Thank you for this opportunity. It was a wonderful meeting. Actually, I heard about this Toastmasters Club even before it was started, I think Devota was associated with you, I suppose.
Yes, he is still our mentor. He's our club mentor.
That's true. So I part of he used to be part of my Facebook group, and that's how I came to know. But then I lost track, and then suddenly today I saw a WhatsApp posting. Not today, a couple of days back, and I thought I should try it because I've been a blogger for some time, but I've been wanting to be a podcaster for a very, very long time. Probably this is a good way for me to pick up the ropes, and then suddenly Ejiro's presentation today spurred me quite a bit, and hopefully something good will happen in the next year, which is not too far away.
For starters, just block your calendar. Come as many times as you like. Join our meetings every first and third Monday. Just block your calendar with that schedule. That's it. Sure. And that will get you started for sure.
Anyhow, thank you very much. I know you're running out of time, so I don't want to stretch it anymore.
Joy, Joy, would you like to share your feedback, Joy? And then Murthish. Joy, are you here?
Yeah. Hi. Okay. So for me, as I said earlier, because it's really, really new, so I would like to still participate in another meeting and really pay 100% attention. And I'll now come up and say, oh, I wanted this, or I wanted that, or it's like this or like that. I cannot really say anything now, but I really appreciate it. And I'm happy to know that you can still make money from the podcast. So that's the area I like. So I'll come on board as soon as I really get to understand fully details about it. So I will always be glad to join the meeting every time it's on. So I will be learning. Thank you, guys.
Yes, I think we should find
really doing a good job bringing people, you are not selfish. Yeah, because if you guys are selfish, you will not want to share. So sharing is really good. Thank you. Thank you.
Brilliant. Excellent. Murthish, I'm not sure if you attended much of the meeting. I think you came in late, but you can tell us what did you take anything away from this meeting?
Yeah, actually today I joined late, but I would like to tell about the club. Really, it was a nice program. Really, I learned a lot. And last time I attended Anchor program fully, which is DTM Lakshmi. I think she has gave a presentation. I have practiced that, and really I was unbelievable. I did the podcast, and today also I joined late. I watched the YouTube video, and thank you.
That's brilliant. We want to see your first podcast, Murthish. We want to be the platform you play it at. Your first podcast, the first one needs to be with us. The future ones, you'll already be established. You don't need to be worried anymore. So BG and Bharat, a quick note from you.
Well, first step is important, still struggling, but I'm sure with the support Podcasters Club is giving, we will be there. In the pipeline of drawing at least 4 or 6 in my mind, and then as Ejiro said, she has reinforced the belief that consistency is the key. So at least do 6 together and then start posting before even thinking of, otherwise it will all go to waste.
Super.
Thank you so much for this one.
Thanks, Bharat. Just take your plunge in.
No, I'm going to come back. I was just, I'm doing, now I'm on the level 4. So project 1, you already guided us. So I will be here very soon, somewhere in January to do that.
Start with your icebreaker. That doesn't need to prepare anything. So don't need to worry about it. BG, go ahead.
Oh no, I need to prepare for the project 4. So I am doing that, and I will come back with that, because that does not need to have a theme for it. That does not need to have a theme with it. It will just be a free flow.
BG?
Yep, thanks. I would like to, I mean, as I said before, thank Jiro, it was really good. I would like to have some chat with Sandeep if he doesn't mind, because it looks like he has got a lot of experience, and I can learn a little bit of by chatting with him, especially about the equipment. Like, if you want to start, I mean, of course, I can start without any equipment, but I want to have an idea. Okay, ideally, this is a classic podcast kit. Let me say this, and then of course, whenever I have the funds, I will get those equipment. But most important that I can speak without equipment. For example, I'm thinking about just going to do it on SoundCloud, and I don't want anybody to listen to me. I just want to do it for myself, right? And that will help me a little bit of practice before I really go in. So yeah, I mean, Sandeep, thank you so much for sharing your experience and the questions. It's really good. So, and thank you everyone. I really enjoyed Alifia. Thank you for inviting me.
Bravo. So BG, if you're really serious, keep coming for our first and third Mondays, because in many meetings we do basics. We have plain anchor. We have done, everyone comes with a 1-minute content and a real-time created podcast on the spot in our meetings. And every meeting there are tips. Like today was about monetizing your podcast. This is a little advanced level content, but we also have about how to select content. We have about how to do it. What's the equipment? For your information, it's completely free to have a podcast. For your information, you don't need any equipment. If you have a mobile phone and a simple headphone, that's enough. So if you think you need 100,000 equipments, you're only procrastinating. So honestly, you can even create your podcast. You do not need to publish it. For example, Dr. Lakshmi's podcast today was not published. So you can still create it. You can come here, share it, get feedback, get evaluation, and not publish it. So we don't want to get you thrown into the sea with something which is not yet a finished expertise product. Until you get there, you still do not stop yourself from doing it. Like I said, none of this meeting will be relevant to you or anybody who has never done their first podcast. So until you do your first podcast, nothing will make sense. No matter if it's only theory. But guess what? It's not a theory lesson. It's a skill. And the skill is developed only when you get started. No matter how good or bad, it's not going to happen until you get started. So you can attend our meetings and you'll get inspiration to get your first one out. And that's when you will actually start applying anything from the 14 points that Ichiro has said. None of that will be relevant to you. And I'm sure she said a lot more. I'm sure I missed a lot, but this is for our members and stuff. So with that note, I want to officially call this meeting to a close. I want to invite you all to please keep coming every first and third. It's absolutely free for guests. Just fill your details in the link if you haven't yet. We will send you invites to keep coming, updates on all our future digital hacks and content about how to get your first content up and out, and even about more advanced programs, about how to share, how to get more followers, how to actually, all these questions that Sandeep has given, these are all questions that have been covered in detail as the topic of the day in our past podcast. If you even follow our YouTube link, you will see some of our old speakers who have the guest speakers that come and give us education sessions as well. So with that note, I officially call this meeting to an end. But please, if you all have questions, I'm more than happy to keep the room on for another 10 minutes. And let me tell you, Ijiro was actually quarantined. And she's quarantined right now. She was COVID positive and she was quarantined. And till like the afternoon, we didn't know if this would fly because we didn't know the room that she gets quarantined in will have Wi-Fi or not. So we're so glad everything worked out and so proud of that. Thank you for that.